Rob, what is our third main topic today?
Our third main topic comes to us from the Ash Man. Hey, John and team, just finished watching the episode 2 pregame show.
Thank
I
you.
love these pregames, by the way. Please keep them going. Anyway, I'm now 2 hours away from watching episode 2, and I wanted to get ahead of the rush and ask you guys to give your non-spoilery thoughts on the episode before the after show later. Did it follow up strong for you, or did the second episode let you down like some other Disney Plus shows have done? What did you think? This would, of course, be referring to She-Hulk.
Yes, to She-Hulk. And so here's my thoughts. Number one, you're right. There have been a lot. I think I've liked the first episode of every Disney Plus show.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there have been a number of them that the second episodes do not follow up as strong with me, which we have well documented, right? And so, I mean, that is what it is. And just to follow up on Ashman, just so you know, a little later today at 3 p.m. Los Angeles time, that's 6 p.m. New York time, we will, of course, have our She-Hulk after show where Rob and I are going to break down and go into full spoilery discussion on everything about episode 2. As long as you guys got still a number of hours to go and watch the show, come on back and join us at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time for that. But in a non-spoilery way, I will say this about episode 2. I didn't like it quite as much as episode 1. But let me tell you about the things I liked, and then let me tell you about my one big concern, okay? Because I got a big concern after this episode, and let me get to that last. Things I liked. Like the first episode, dialogue, sharp, crisp, punchy, funny. Love the dialogue of it. 2, character interactions. I remember one of the things I said in the pre-show, Rob, I said, one of the elements I want to see is I want to see more developing the dynamic between her and her best friend.
Yep.
And it gave me that. So I'm like, okay, check. Very happy about that. Glad to see that. 3, Easter eggs galore. Easter eggs galore. I loved looking around almost every single scene and shot. We'll go more into detail on those in the after show at 3 p.m. later today. But so I love being able to look at it in almost every shot, picking out something. Some stuff very relevant, which we'll talk about later. Some stuff not as relevant, but just seeing all the little things there was great. We started to advancing what I think is going to be the most significant story of the season. It's not going to be the only story of the season, but I think the most significant story of the season, and that was good. Listen, everything I saw, I enjoyed. That it was fun. The dialogue was punchy. We get to meet. I didn't even see the character's face. I just heard the voice, and I'm like, that's Larry from Stranger Things. I didn't even see the face yet. I just heard the voice. I'm like, that's Larry. That's cousin Larry. And sure enough, he was there. Anyway, but Rob, I am feeling like I'm about to do a 360 on something, or a 180, I should say. 180 would be more appropriate. You know, I said going into episode 1 and even after watching episode 1, you know what? For this sitcom format, 30 minutes, this works here. This is the appropriate time for a show that's like this, because I'm often complaining that, hey, Disney, look at what Netflix does. Look at what HBO does. They give real episodes, real length, fill it with real meaty stuff. And I'm often, even the shows that I love on Disney Plus, I often criticize, they're too short. But for She-Hulk, I'm like, no, this works. I'm rethinking that after episode 2, because in as much as I enjoyed what I saw, I did. When the episode ended, there's a difference, Rob, because what's the big showtime, the showbiz thing? Leave them wanting more, right? There's a difference between leaving them wanting more and leaving them feel dissatisfied. And when that episode suddenly ended, and I realized I feel like I just hit play, I had this real sense of dissatisfaction. And while I liked all the stuff that I saw, it all happened very quickly. Like with not a lot of, like, there's an important phone conversation she has in this episode. That is a phone conversation that should not have been 12 minutes long, but it should have been 4 minutes long, you know, and instead it's rushed through very, very quickly. And by the time this episode ends, it's like, I'm the guy who's been saying, I'm the one who's been telling everybody, calm down. For a show like this, 30 minutes is fine. But I'm starting to reevaluate that. And again, I'm not saying I've totally gone that way yet because it's just one episode. But that episode ended, Rob, and I didn't like the feeling I had of being dissatisfied. Guys, we want to take a second and thank the sponsor of this video, MasterClass. All of us here at the John Campea Show absolutely love MasterClass. With MasterClass, you can learn from the world's best minds, anytime, anywhere, and at your own pace. You can learn television writing from Shonda Rhimes, improve your comedy skills from Steve Martin, or you can learn filmmaking from James Cameron himself. With over 100 different classes from a range of world-class instructors, that thing you've always wanted to learn is closer than you think. I have personally watched Bob Iger's lessons on business strategy and leadership at least 6 or 7 times. Every time I watch it, I learn something new that I get to apply to my own business as well. And the best thing about it is you don't have to sit down and watch an entire thing all at once. You can watch the individual segments or just as much as you want in any sitting at a time. So guys, when it comes to MasterClass, I highly recommend that you check it out. Get unlimited access to every masterclass. And as a John Campea Show listener, you get 15% off an annual membership. Go to masterclass.com/Campea. That's masterclass.com/Campea for 15% off Masterclass. But anyway, what were your general impressions? Again, let's make sure we don't go into spoilery stuff. But what were your general impressions of episode 2 last night?
Like you, I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoy how the series is unfolding, and I like the examination of what Jennifer Walters' life is going to be like. You know, I like how she was recruited by this law firm that, you know, we don't care. We're just starting we don't have a problem with you. You know, and I liked all that because they can be malevolent, and I enjoyed.
I saw producer John.
A little insurance. A little insurance. That tag should be permanent.
And
we should tattoo it on Rob.
Put it on his.
Now my whole train of thought is, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. Overall, I enjoyed it. But I have to tell you, like you, I feel, and I'm finding this to be increasingly the case with all these Marvel shows. They're not approached like a TV show. I feel like we're watching a movie that's cut up into sections. And I think that's what you're feeling because, you know, you're watching the show and it doesn't flow like a TV series does. Like when you get to the end of the episode, I don't feel the episode, it's not done. You know, you're in the middle of a storyline, it just gets cut off and they end the show.
And I did feel like it did that okay with episode 1, but I did not feel that with episode 2.
Because episode 1 kind of had this self-contained story. And you can have an overarching mythology or an overarching storyline, but when you're making a TV show, it still needs, and this episode with credits was less than 30 minutes.
With credits. So really it was probably about 22, 23 minutes.
Yeah, and I'm watching this and I'm like, and even in a 22-minute sitcom, they would have a story with a beginning, a middle, and an end. And I feel like this is just a long movie cut up into sections. And I never feel like it's not satisfying television. And I think that might be what you're feeling, because I'm feeling it overall with these shows. I'm like, they're TV shows, but they don't work like TV shows. Like Obi-Wan was kind of the same way. Yeah. You're watching a movie, and then when you actually see it, that fan edit cut together, you're like, oh, this is a movie.
Oh, God, that fan edit was so good.
It was so good, and you're looking at this, and I wonder, I mean, I understand that they want to have TV shows, but it didn't feel like a TV episode.
And it's weird saying that about an episode that you and I both enjoyed watching.
I did.
For the precious few minutes it actually played.
Oh, well, that's the thing. And I feel when you say unsatisfying, I think there's a reason for that, because you're not getting, look, a traditional television show at least gives you, even with serialized storytelling, within an hour, you still feel satisfied. You might not be able to wait until the next episode because it was a great cliffhanger or something, but you still feel like, oh, like House of the Dragon was a fulfilling first episode of a show. I felt like that was a meal.
Yeah.
You know, and
yes, sir.
You know, and I think with these shows, I am left hungry at the end.
Yeah, and again, there's a difference between leaving them wanting more and feeling dissatisfied. And you know what it felt like to me more? Now, they're not as prevalent as they are today, but there are streaming shows. But back a few years ago, what really started to get popular were web series. A web series.
Oh, dude.
And it kind of this episode kind of felt like a very high quality, but like a quick little web series episode.
Right.
And it's like, I just don't like that feeling of feeling dissatisfied at the end when it ends. But again, Listen, I know I'm just talking about one episode. I know I'm not going
Right.
to get too far ahead of myself, but
I did want to say I thought Tim Roth was fantastic.
oh my God, he was so good.
So good.
He was like, I didn't know how they were going to approach it because, you take a character like him, like in the movie, it's very serious, very hardcore, and you knew they're bringing him into a comedy. So are they going to do it? But they did it in such a way that was like, this is great.
When he made the comment about his ears, I chuckled.
We can't.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Yeah, we're not going to go into detail.
You guilted me in taking that spoiler down. Let's not.
Don't make me regret it. What were you going to say, Ray?
I was going to say last week, I said, what did I say? I wasn't going to stay up for the
What did I
episode.
say?
Right.
No. I wasn't going to stay. I made that decision not to stay up for the episode and watch it the next morning. After this episode, I've decided I'm going to let a couple episodes pass by and I'll watch them in bulk. Only because, you know what? If there's spoilers, it's going to be cameos, whatever. I'm actually more interested in this Jessica, what's her name? Jennifer Walters?
Jennifer
Walters.
I'm
gonna say
more
Jessica
interested
Jones?
in what she's going to do. So, spoilers for cameos and things like that doesn't really matter to me. I'm actually invested into this character and the type of life that she's going to have to go through being this She-Hulk.
Yeah.
And that no one can spoil that for me, even if like a couple episodes pass by. You know what I mean?
I agree with you.
So that's what I'm going to do, because after this morning, as soon as the episode ended, I was like, I yelled, "That's it!" I verbally yelled, "That's
He's like,
it!"
I didn't even take one nap.
I know. But now listen, but look, again, I don't want to take away from the fact that there was a bunch of stuff in this episode that I really, really liked.
Me too.
And we are going to talk about all that stuff that we really, really liked upcoming at 3 p.m. today on our She-Hulk after show. Make sure you guys come back and join us because there was actually a lot of goodies in there. We're going to talk about that stuff later. All right, guys, questions for you. Did you have a chance to see the She-Hulk episode? If so, how did you feel about it? Maybe the fact that it was filled with good stuff was enough to leave you feeling satisfied. Maybe, I'll get over this by next week. I mean, I don't know. However you guys feel about it, jump down to the comment section below and leave your thoughts there.